I have a 2001 Chevy Silverado 1500 vehicle. The owner is complaining that he is not passing smog because he has a monitor problem. So the monitors don't say clear. So this video is about how to look at the monitors and figure out what's wrong. We're going to use a Virus snap-on scanner. That is Bluetooth to the data link connected transponder, and then we're also going to be using a vacuum gauge to see if we can figure out the actual true problem to why the monitor is not saying clear. Let's start with hooking up our data link connector. So this is a data link connector. It's a trapezoid, 16 pins inside with the transponder. So I'm going to go over to the driver's side of the car. I'm going to hook this up to the data link connector, also referred to as the DLC. So the DLC is this connector right here. We're going to plug this data link connector right into it, and then we're going to actually go and turn the key so it's key on. So key on means all your dash lights are on, specifically the check engine light, okay, but the engine is off. This is called key on, engine off, or KOEO. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and look at the scanner and the monitors. So here we are at the scanner. We're going to go ahead and enter our vehicle. So I'm going to hit scanner. And then it's a Chevrolet. So we're going to actually pick Chevrolet. It's a 2001. Now we could be doing this off of the VIN, so keep that in mind. Okay, so it's the 10th digit of the VIN. You would see a 1 for 2001. We're not going to do automatic ID because it's too old of a car. Usually around 2007 where we could start doing it that way. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and pick Silverado, and you'll notice there's different VIN numbers for Silverado. So you do have to go to the VIN number and look at the VIN number. And in this case, the 5th digit ended up being a C. And then it is a T for the 8th digit of the VIN. It was a T, so it's a 5.3 liter. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Alright, so the Readiness monitors are going to be found in your powertrain control module. So each one of these is a separate computer or separate module in the car. So we are actually just going to go to the powertrain. And then it wants to see if we are without a throttle cable or with a throttle cable. So we're going to go do that right now. So here's where the air intake system goes into the car. Here's our throttle body right here, and if you come to the side, you'll see it has a throttle cable. So this is what a throttle body that is controlled by a throttle cable. Okay. This is a motor we have on the side of the shop, but I could demonstrate to you a throttle body. So here's my throttle body right here, and you can see there's no cable attached to it. It is actually controlled by the computer and this wiring here. No cable to open the throttle body up. So this is what we call a fly-by-wire system. Going back to our scanner now, we look at it. We have a without throttle cable or with throttle cable, and our Chevy Silverado has a throttle cable. So I'm going to pick that one. Now we don't want to do transmission. We'll worry about engine because this is about monitors. Okay. Now this is a important screen here. And I want to put my pin right here and separate it. This side are the functions that are the enhanced side of the OBD system, or the onboard diagnostic system, meaning that it's the factory side of how to access the computer. The generic functions, which is this side, is how you access the computer through the OBD generic side, which is technically part of the Smog program. So we have a Smog machine here at Monte Vista High School. So this Smog machine, when I hook it up to the car with using what we call a DAD, so this is the data acquisition device for the Smog machine. So the data acquisition device has a data link connector, just like our regular scanner does, but it does not access the computer through the enhanced side. It activates the computer through the OBD2 generic function side. So it's really important to understand each, depending on which way you go, dictates what you're able to do with the car. So for the purpose of looking at monitors, okay, we want to go to the generic side right here. And now you'll see we have our readiness monitors. We could still, though, go ahead and do different things with the computer, okay? It has what we call hexadecimals. So this dollar with the 02 and a dollar with the 05. Those are hexadecimals that refer to specific functions you could do with the computer. Like in this case, you can monitor the oxygen sensor, you can look at freeze frame data. But we want to focus today on just the monitors. So I want to click on that. So now here's the next screen we have, and this is going to be monitors complete since the DTC was cleared. This is the side we're going to use. Okay, I very rarely refer to this side, the monitors complete, this cycle, and the cycle means drive test. So you're going for a drive, and you want to see which monitor is clear. But we're going to just focus on monitors cleared since DTC. So now we're on the monitors that have been completed since the DTC were cleared, and you'll look right here. We have fuel system was completed, catalyst system completed. Fuel system was not completed. In the fuel system, you must be between 1/4 of a tank and 3/4 of a tank, so you can't be completely empty and you can't be completely full. You must also let the car cold soak overnight. So this requires at least 24 hours, and there must be it must reach a temperature difference between the evening and the morning. There must be a certain amount of temperature difference between the two to make this system say complete. And of course, it has to have no leaks. But anyways, we'll go through. We have O2 sensor testing. That test is complete. We have misfire testing. That's complete. Component testing. That's complete. But here's the thing that we are a little bit worried about is the secondary air injection system. This doesn't say it's complete. Okay. We do have the O2 sensor, and the EGR system says it's complete. As far as there's continuous monitoring and there's also non-continuous monitoring. So non-continuous means that you have to have the right conditions to be met for it to say complete. Okay? Non-continuous, right? It has to have the right conditions for it to say complete. Continuous monitoring is where it's monitoring all the system all the time. So a misfire is a continuous monitoring. It's always checking for misfires. Components, your fuel injectors, your coils, and all your sensors. It's always checking for those to see if they're complete. Same with the O2 sensor, EGR. So there's certain monitors that say complete, like the fuel system says complete right away, and there's certain monitors that take a while to complete because the conditions haven't been met yet. But we're going to focus today on just the secondary air system. So when you talk about monitors, you need to always refer to your emissions decal. Your emissions decal gives you a lot of information. It tells you what size engine it is, 5.3 liter, and what calibration it is. It also gives you tune-up specifications, so it's giving us the spark plug gap and any adjustments that you might need to make for a tune-up, okay? It also tells you if it's a federal car or California car. This is California car. It tells you what year the car was made for. So it was actually made for, and it's kind of hard to read, and it's over in this corner, but it's a 2001. But the most important thing as far as monitors and smog is the vacuum diagram and what systems is it equipped with. Okay, so in the Ford training module that you guys did with the introduction to the automobile, you saw acronyms like AIR, TWC, HO2S, EGR, SFI. So these acronyms were in that Ford training. So what this stands for is sequential fuel injections, SFI. EGR is an exhaust gas recirculation valve. HO2S is a heated oxygen sensor. TWC is three-way catalytic converter, and then AIR is what we're worried about, and that is air injection reactor. And if you look right over here, here's all the vacuum hoses in the car, and you look, one goes to our AIR system, if applicable. So some cars don't have this, but this one does. And it's this whole apparatus right here. Okay, so it has a smog pump, which is right here. Okay, it has its own relay. It has a MAP sensor that senses for pressure. So that's why you see a vacuum hose go into this. It senses adequate pressure within that system. It has fresh air hoses to pull in fresh air. So this one right here, I pull this up. This one right here is just an open hose. Well, this pulls in fresh air. The pump pumps the air and sends the air downstream through this check valve all the way to our exhaust system. And you'll look right here, and it's hooked up to our exhaust. Let me turn the light on. So let me show you how it works with the exhaust. So one tube goes over to the other side of the motor. That's what this tube does, okay? But this tube right here stays to this side of the motor. This is an anti-backfire valve, so this prevents any kind of backfiring. But if you'll notice, the tube goes right into our exhaust right there. So this is our AIR system. So it injects air into our exhaust to burn any leftover fuel that wasn't burned inside the engine. Okay, so we're going to actually diagnose this right now, this system. So we're back at our scanner now, so we're going to go back out of this. We're going to go exit again, and back. And now we're back to our enhanced side and our generic side. And we want to go to our enhanced side, specifically functional tests. And in functional tests, we could control different parts of the car, like we can control injectors. Or in this case, we want to go ahead and the Evap system, which, by the way, this might not be a bad test to do, because we already know the Evap system did not complete on this monitor. So we are suspecting something with the Evap system. But let's go to output control. And if you look at the output control, we could turn our air conditioning on and off. This is our Evap system right here. So we could turn our canister purge valve on and off for our Evap. Again, right here, same thing. But if you go down, we could control our idle speed with an idle air control valve. We could turn off each injector one at a time. But this is what I'm really interested in. Air pump relay on and off. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this, and we're going to do it first away from the car so you can see what I'm going to do. Okay, so now here's all our parameters. These are all live. I do have the key turned on. So the key is on, engine is off. And I hit this on button, and I should hear the smog pump turn on. And I can. I'm going to hit it off. Good. So now let's go to the car, close to the car, because I'm out away from the car so you can see the screen. So I'm going to put this right next to our smog pump right here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn this on. And you can hear the smog pump turned on. Okay? So, and then I could verify it's pulling air in, because I could feel the air being sucked in, and it's being sent to the exhaust manifold through the hoses. Now what I need to verify next is if this vacuum hose is working properly, because vacuum hoses tend to deteriorate and crack over time. So let's do that. So now I have my good old trusted vacuum pump. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hook this vacuum pump up to our that vacuum hose. Disconnect the vacuum hose all over the place, but I'm going to go straight to where it goes to our MAP sensor right here. Okay, so this is a MAP sensor that we got, so I'm going to pull this off. Here's our vacuum hose, and then we're going to hook up the vacuum gauge right to that. Vacuum gauge and pump hooked right up to the vacuum hose. Keep in mind, this is a one-way check valve, so it allows vacuum to go through, but it doesn't let it to bleed off. So this is a one-way check valve. I'm not suspecting that at this time. What I do want to see is I'm going to start the car, and I should see anywhere upwards of 18 to 20 inches of vacuum. So it should be somewhere right in here. 18, 20, this is 15, 16, 17, 18, and 20 inches of vacuum when I start the car. So I started the car, and I only have 4 inches of vacuum. That's a problem. I have a vacuum leak somewhere, so this should be way up here. And if I follow this line all the way around, I could see a problem. So we have very low vacuum. We were at 4 inches of vacuum and should be upwards of 20. We followed the vacuum line all the way from where the gauge was, which is here, which was hooked up to our map sensor. We followed it all the way around, all the way down, and then this is what I found. And if you see here, see that big old cut right here? This hose is deteriorated so much, we're losing all the vacuum right here in that crack. You could put your finger here when it's running, and you could feel it sucking your finger in. So the reason why the monitor is not completing is because it's not getting engine vacuum where it should be over here. We're losing it right where it attaches to the motor. Let's change this hose. Pull this hose off, you can see how bad this hose is. It is completely deteriorated. Okay, full of cracks. But not only that, when I pulled it off, I saw this. So this is where it attached the plastic hose right here. And then this is where it attached to the engine. So the engine side's fine. But right after it left the engine, man, we're losing vacuum all along here. And then we were losing it right here at the tip too. So I'm going to use this new piece of vacuum hose to change. So before I cut it, I want to match up my length. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring this all the way up, make sure I'm at the right length, and then we're going to go ahead and cut it right here. We have our vacuum hose now completely hooked up. We still have our gauge hooked up to our hose. Now let's start it to see if we have better vacuum readings. Look at that. Golden. 20 inches of vacuum. 19 inches. Done. We had just verified we fixed this problem. I have no doubt that was the problem, that little vacuum hose going to our engine. This was where it should have had that 20 inches of vacuum. Now it does. Now I could go ahead and plug this back in where it's supposed to go. Perfect. And then all he needs to do is go for a good test drive, probably drive it about 20 miles or so in that smog pump right here. The AIR system, which is the air injection reactor. That AIR system should now say complete when he drives this car. Going back to our monitors, we're going to not go into the enhanced side. We're going to go in the generic OBD side. Go to monitors. Go to monitors since DTC has been cleared. And DTC is a diagnostic trouble code. And without a doubt, the secondary air injection system, or the air injection reactor system, will say complete when he drives the car. The one that I'm not sure of is the Evap system. Now, he is allowed to pass smog with one monitor saying incomplete. So technically, if we just get this one to pass, he will pass smog. But this one, we still want to make sure it passes. It could be anything right now. It could be a gas cap that's not tight from fueling up. It could be a host of problems. But what I want to make sure you guys understand is we could actually test that system too. And I'm going to go to functional test right here. And then you see the Evap service bay test. So click on that. Okay. use this procedure to run the onboard Evap diagnostic. So if everything is right, this will complete that monitor. Okay. So to ensure accurate test results, refer to the vehicle's specific service information or instructions. If Evap monitor is flag is complete, clear codes to reset monitor. I don't want to clear the codes. So let's hit continue. Turn ignition off, wait 10 seconds, turn ignition on, do not start the engine. Wait 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn the ignition key back on. I want to make sure I'm at a half a tank, which he is. He can't be below a quarter, or he can't be at full, so he's good there. Ambient temperature is good outside. 10 seconds, we turn the ignition key back on. We're going to hit continue. Start engine and allow it to idle. Fuel level must be between 15 and 85%. Transmission be in park or neutral. Make sure AC is off. All accessories are turned off. So we want no air conditioning, so the air conditioning needs to be off. Everything needs to be off. The radio needs to be off. Wiper blades, headlights. So go ahead and start the car. Okay, so right now the vehicle is idling. So I'm going to hit continue. And what it's waiting for the purge valve to open. So we're going to see if that changes in the near future. Okay, so hold engine at 18 to 2000 RPM. Evap system bay test is running. It may take up to 10 minutes to complete. Here we are inside. I'm going to go ahead and rev the car up. We have engine speed right here, changing. Okay, and we want to be at between 1800 and 2000. There we go, we're at 1800. And we're just going to hold that and monitor all our everything that's going on. A little too high. There we go, 2000 right there. A little lower. We had something happen just now. At 2000 RPM, our purge solenoid ended up changing to 77%. It was at 15 when we first got in the car. Okay, so that's a good sign our purge solenoid's working. I just saw our fuel tank pressure change. It went up in value. Okay, so that's changing, and along with our fuel tank pressure. So remember, this one measures vacuum, this one measures voltage. So that's our fuel tank pressure sensor. So I'm very happy with seeing that fluctuate. And here again, here's our pressure sensor. Look at that. It was at 0.15. Now we're at 3.5, 3.6 for our pressure sensor. Okay. And you'll notice over here the pressure sensor changed to 2.2 in volts. So we're doing pretty good here. Okay. The ECT sensor, by the way, is the engine coolant temperature sensor. So that's 172 degrees, and that directs directly with our temperature gauge in the bottom right corner. If you look at our temperature gauge right there, it's almost identical to, well, it's a little hotter than what the scanner said. So, but we're at about between 160 and 210, you know, maybe 180 right there. So that'd be 185. Okay, so we're close to what the actual engine coolant temperature sensor is saying. So here's our ECT sensor. I just expanded to a graph. And that's worth noting too. So any of these readings we could change to a graph by clicking these little arrows. So I could look at my fuel pressure sensor right here, and we could look at the graph, and we could go and look at this over time. This is really important too, is the DTC. So we want to verify there's been no diagnostic trouble code, which would turn our check engine light on. So far no codes determined, so that's a good sign. If it said yes, that would be a reason why we wouldn't pass the Evap test. Okay, and there would be probably a P0400 code. So we just been idling now for about 5 minutes, and I noticed right here Evap test state, and it says check test results. So that's a good sign that we ran this Evap test completely. So let's go ahead and review that. So back at the home screen right here, we went and I looked over here, an Evap test result, it passed. So now let's go and check our monitors. I'm going to hit exit. I'm going to hit back, and I want to now go to generic functions, go to Readiness monitor, and let's see what we got. All right, so by doing that one simple test, we got the Evap system now to say complete, and we're still waiting on the air injection system. He needs to drive this. But that, by doing that Evap test, we got this one to say complete on the monitors. I'm pretty happy so far with what's going to happen, because I know for sure we fixed this problem with the vacuum gauge. The vacuum gauge verified that this will eventually say complete, and this was incomplete or not complete, and now it says complete by doing that one simple test. And that one test where we found was going back to the enhanced side. We go to functional, and it was the Evap service bay test. This completed the Evap monitor, and then for the diagnostics of the air injection system, we went to output control, and we went to the air pump right here, and then when that clicked on, we hit on, and you could hear that pump turn on, and we could turn it off. So this is a functional test. The last thing I need to say about these functional tests, okay? These functional tests are also called output state controls, okay? So it's an output that we're able to control. So really good system to use, or really good function of the scanner to use. Functional tests, output state control.